Are we ready? Are we ready? I don't know if I'm ready because it is going to be absolute chaos. Who is winning? That is the question in the chat already. And you know what? We're just going to have to sit back and watch and wait and see because it could go either way. Anything could literally happen in this Grand Prix. Like, there is no way of telling who is going to come out on top. Obviously, we know from qualifying yesterday that Max Verstappen is going to start at the front of the grid. But even with that, does that give us too much to go off of? I would argue no. I don't think that, just starting on pole is going to mean he goes on to win this Grand Prix easily. I'm nervous. I'm shaky. I have spent the morning making loads of graphics that half of them are never going to see the day come because half of them are going to be completely and utterly useless. I couldn't decide. I couldn't call it. I was like, oh, I'll just make some graphics. Who do I think is going to win? Let's have some bold predictions from Jin. I think, there's a lot to talk about today. Let's sort of delve straight into it as we've got about half an hour or so until the Grand Prix. Let's talk about what everybody wants to talk about, right? Lando Norris is starting in third place today. Drivers' Championship, 4 points behind Charles Leclerc. And people said that the race for fifth place was over. People said that Lando Norris might not get his first win this season. I like to disagree. I think that Lando Norris is going to come out and win this race today. I think, the two of them at the front, they're going to get in each other's heads. They're going to get in each other's heads and they're going to, try and counter each other. They're going to make mistakes along the way. And Lando Norris is going to be the man to jump into the positions that they just leave behind. I could see Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton not even being on the podium in this Grand Prix. Lots of the time, it does come down to that. If you think of Lewis Hamilton's first ever Formula One win, Formula One World Championship win, he finished in fifth place. Like, it doesn't always go down to the driver that wins. They just have to beat one another. They just have to be 1 point ahead of the other driver. So it really could go any which way. Hello, Mickey. Lewis will win. Love that prediction. Joe Nixon hoping Max will win. And Josh, Yuki top 5. Very different prediction, but I do also enjoy it. Should we have a quick look at the qualification then? Sort of running from the top to the bottom. Verstappen, Hamilton, Norris, Perez is the main teammate that is closest to those front two. Everybody was saying, will Max Verstappen be able to get on the front row? Everybody was sort of expecting it to be Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas 1-2, and it was whether or not we could get Max Verstappen into that second place. He's gone out there, come out in front by a long distance, actually, yesterday in qualifying, and got himself on pole position. And then it's not Valtteri Bottas, which is the closest of the two teammates. It's Sergio Perez, the man who's been, 50-50 all season. He's had his critics. Has he been good enough in that Red Bull? Lots of people say yes, lots of people say no. But when it's come down to it, he is the teammate that is closest to those front two. But in between them, Lando Norris putting it on third place. It's been a little while since we've seen Lando Norris at the front of the pack. Obviously, had that massive disappointment in Russia. And now had a few races where it sort of dwindled out. The fire seems to have gone a little bit. And now he's back again. Once more, Lando Norris is in the front of the pack. His ex-teammate, Carlos Sainz, is the next nearest midfield rival in fifth place. Valtteri Bottas only finds himself in sixth, the third row of the grid. And he's really going to have to do something special off the line if Valtteri Bottas is going to be anywhere near those title two and able to sort of get involved in the battle that they're going to be having at the front of the grid. Charles Leclerc is in seventh place, the man who currently sits in fifth in the World Drivers' Championship. He's going to want to beat out his teammate and Lando Norris. You could easily drop down into seventh place today if things don't go his way. And after an exceptionally consistent season, that would be very, very disappointing for the Leclerc fans out there. But I'm hoping that Lando Norris can take that fifth place. Yuki Tsunoda with the best qualifying I think I've ever seen from him this season. Absolutely phenomenal in the AlphaTauri yesterday, and the first time he's been able to outdo his teammate Pierre Gasly as well, finds himself in 8th place. Ocon outdoes his teammate into 9th, and again, there's another storyline there. Ocon only needs 5 points to be ahead of Alonso in the Drivers' Championship, and that could easily happen today if Ocon can make up some places and make some bold moves forward. We saw him yesterday. We saw him yesterday put in a really good qualifying performance, but last week we put in an exceptional drive, did Ocon. Obviously, massively benefited from the first red flag, but also put together a really good drive and just came 4th place, 0.1 of a second. Valtteri Bottas was able to take 3rd place from the Alpine driver. Daniel Ricciardo, a very up and down season from him, and a very middling of the pack qualification as well in 10th place. And then we get into the interesting ones, because these guys obviously have free reign of tyre. Alonso in 11th, Gasly in 12th. Really far off the pace yesterday. Like, Gasly has basically made 5th or 6th his qualifying position. I can't remember the last time that he hasn't been on that on that 3rd row, and even has been on the front row in places like Qatar. So Gasly a little bit out of sorts yesterday, maybe not enjoying the new layout of track as much as other drivers out there. But yeah, finds himself in 12th. And then we get into the guys sort of running at the back. We've got our Strolls, Giovinazzi in his final Formula One Grand Prix before he moves into Formula E next season. Sebastian Vettel managed to just about get it through into Q2 yesterday, but couldn't improve on 15th place. Nicholas Latifi outqualifies his teammate for just the 2nd time this season. And George Russell in 17th place does look a little bit off of it recently. I think I've talked about it before. I think his eyes are probably, on that Mercedes drive next year. He's probably counting down the laps today as to when he will be moving over to that Mercedes team. It's his final race with Williams. But at the same time, I sort of expected a little bit more. Came out of the blocks after the summer break, absolutely on fire, and then sort of dwindled slowly after that Mercedes announcement was made. Kimi Räikkönen in his final race, you'd imagine, in his Formula One career. He is retiring from Formula One. Starts in 18th place. And then Mick Schumacher and Nikita Mazepin, the two Hasses, the only team yet to score some points. But will we see those two come together? We know they're not the best of friends on track. Nikita Mazepin and Mick Schumacher often butting heads with one another. But let's see what happens then. What's happening in the chat? Perez full send into turn 1, says Joe. Hello, Maori. You all right, mate? Amy Yuki on the mediums could get top 5. Most definitely. It was an exceptional drive from Yuki Tsunoda yesterday. I'm really excited to see what he can do. And as I said, I think those two at the front will be so in each other's heads and so worried about what each other is doing. They could leave the door open for some other drivers to pick up some podiums here, to be honest with you. My predictions, Ham, Norris, Verstappen from Josh. Ooh, I love that. Norris in 2nd place. Let's bump that up one more. And I'm agreeing with you. Thank you for the coverage all season. No problem, Cole. Always my go-to watch-along. Keep up the great work. I appreciate that, mate, especially because, everybody is doing a watch-along today. So I do massively appreciate you guys picking me over, maybe the better quality or higher sub count, higher view count streams that are out there. Hello, Mallory, as well. How we doing? What do you think about strategies? I think Mercedes might be on the better strategy. I think the medium compound tyre, especially just because we don't know how long the softs are really going to last. If you think back to the past couple of races that we've had, Saudi Arabia and Qatar, obviously have had very similar weather conditions to Abu Dhabi. It's going to be very, very hot indeed. And I think, the tyres do degrade quite quickly, especially those softs. We saw last time that Max Verstappen went onto the mediums after the 2nd red flag, and his tyres just completely dropped off of a cliff. And I'm hoping, that isn't the case. I don't want it to come down to tyres at the end of the day. I don't want it to come down to, oh, well, he was on the softs at the beginning, so he had no chance of ever winning this race. But you never know, unfortunately, with this. Russell will have points today. Not sure. Not sure about that. But, I like your optimism. I think Russell's just got his eyes on Mercedes. And you know what? I think I probably would do too. If I knew that I was moving on to possibly the biggest team in Formula One, the team that has dominated this era of Formula One, and is looking to move into that position where he can win races, he can get titles possibly, get pole positions under his belt as well. You know, he's looking forward to that Mercedes seat and thinking, wow, I'm moving into, you know, a completely different level of Formula One. You know, getting into Q3, instead of that being a dream, is now an expectation for George Russell moving into next year. And I think he'll enjoy that challenge and enjoy the fact that that is going to be the case moving forward in his career. And hopefully for the foreseeable future, we will see him, you know, always battling in and amongst those top spots. Because as a Brit, as a young driver, and as someone who's moving into those top teams, we do want to see them continue to, you know, keep up pace and keep battling with each other for as long as they possibly can. What else have we got? Hello, Manev, you're right. Hoping for a good race and a Verstappen win. It's very 50-50 in the chat between Hamilton and Verstappen. Sorry, I was just reading another comment about Russell. I think it's going to be close between the two, isn't it? I genuinely do not know how to call it. Genuinely do not know how to call it. I think we've seen that Max Verstappen is incredibly, incredibly quick over the course of this season, has been wonderful over the course of the season, and it would be really disappointing for him, you know, especially because we'll look back at races like Silverstone, like Baku maybe, where things were taken completely out of his hands, and that's kind of where it's cost him the title, really. Like, if we think about it fully, those races, if Max Verstappen would have got 18 points in each of those and a win, it was looking like in Baku, to be fair, you know, it would all be over now. But that is the nature of Formula One. You have to be on the track to get the points, and he wasn't on the track. So interesting to see. And then at the same time, I love the Lewis Hamilton story. The fact that he could go out there and become, you know, number one statistically in all categories, has the most race wins, has the most pole positions, and now could also be out there on his own with the most world championships with 8. Obviously, at the moment, he's level with Michael Schumacher on 7, but I love that storyline as well. The guy that came in at McLaren, super young, super hungry, and has done incredible things for the sport, both on track and off track as well. So both drivers deserve it, in my opinion. Both drivers I think, you know, either one, there's a massive positive for Formula One, and moving forward into this next era, it drives us forward and makes Formula One even more, you know, exciting moving forward, whichever one of these two drivers wins. And it does show that, you know, we can have these title battles go all the way down to the wire, even when they're in two different teams, because it's been a little while now since we've had a proper battle between two teams all the way down to the wire, I would argue. Sebastian Vettel Alonso is probably the last one, but we're talking, you know, 10 years ago. It's a long time to wait for this kind of thing. I think Lewis has the upper hand. I think definitely in terms of strategy, Lewis has the upper hand, to be honest. But it depends. Like, Max Verstappen might be able to get such a good launch off of the start grid that he's just able to just drive into the distance. And if you can make up a good amount of seconds on the softer compound, maybe that forces Lewis Hamilton's hand a bit. Maybe Lewis Hamilton, instead of going onto the hards, has to think about going on to another stint on the mediums, or even a stint on the soft tyres towards the end of the Grand Prix. There's lots of different twists and turns that are going to happen over these, you know, final few laps. And I genuinely can't call it. I think it's going to go down to possibly the last, you know, 10 laps, 5 laps. I could see it being another one of those drives where Lewis Hamilton's maybe on the better strategy, but Max Verstappen has track position, and we have to wait and see as to which one is going to be coming out on top. Although, as I said, I don't think either of them might win this race. I think it might come down to somebody else winning this race, because the two of them are battling with each other so much that it opens the door for, you know, the likes of a Lando Norris, maybe even a Carlos Sainz, to win this Grand Prix. I don't think Sergio Perez or Valtteri Bottas are going to, obviously, because if they're in front, they will slow down to help their teammate as much as they possibly can. Red Bull. Lewis said that Red Bull deliberately chose softs. Yeah, they did. They went onto the soft tyre, so they set a time on the mediums yesterday in Q2. Set a time on the medium compound tyre, and then they were pretty comfortably through, to be honest with you. I don't think they needed to improve that time, but they decided to go out again, decided to go onto softs, and that was, a conscious decision from Red Bull to be like, you know what, Mercedes look like they're going to stick to the mediums. Let's flip the dice. Let's roll. Let's flip the dice. Flip the coin. Roll the dice, and see, if there is a change in strategy. What can we do? Maybe they're expecting a safety car or a red flag at some point. That would massively benefit Red Bull, in my opinion. I think, a red flag especially would enable them to be able to change those soft tires over for something else, and then not have to worry about that first pit stop. That first pit stop that they're going to have to go through. Max winning this year could make the title battle even more heated next year. I think yes and no. I think, obviously, if Lewis Hamilton doesn't win this title, he will still be on the hunt for that 8th. Whereas, if he's won 8 titles, he is, the number one. But I think we've seen from Lewis Hamilton, he never stops. He just never stops. He just keeps on going. He chases every single record that he can. And, I know that he'll think, okay, I've got 8 world titles. I am now the best of all time statistically. But I think he'll want more. I think he'll want more. Even with 8, I think he'll chase 9 and 10 over these next couple of seasons that he's contracted into Formula One. I think that will just keep going for him forever and ever, until he literally cannot race anymore. And as you said, though, Max Verstappen winning it makes it much more interesting maybe moving forward, because brand new championship winner, brand new season of Formula One that we're moving into. It could get very, very tasty indeed between them. Let's have a little look, though. What's happening? Oh, somebody said Mazepin has tested positive for COVID. Is that true? Is Mazepin not starting the Grand Prix? We're gonna see. Is Mazepin not starting the Grand Prix? Do I expect there to be a crash? There it is. Do I expect there to be a crash? No. I know that every single time that those two have been on the track together, it seems like they've crashed into one another. But I think, with Massey saying that there will be big repercussions if there is any form of crash or any form of coming together, I think both drivers will have that in the back of their heads. I think if there is a crash, whoever is at fault will lose the championship. I think, the FIA have to stand by that and have to decide basically the championship, which is something they don't want to do. It's something the drivers don't want to do. You'll want to win it on merit. You never want to win a championship. We want to get to the end of the race. We want to have the podium procession. We want to see a driver lifting the World Drivers' Championship. We do not want to see, a crash between the two, and then we hear about who's actually won the title in 3 weeks' time after the FIA have looked at every single possible angle, looked at every data telemetry, gone through various courts with Mercedes and Red Bull battling one another in an office rather than actually on the track. It would ruin. Well, in my opinion, it would ruin what has been one of the greatest seasons of Formula One ever. Obviously, we've seen it beforehand. And we've seen titles decided like that before, but it wasn't. It was not good for the sport. It's not something we want to see. Nikita Mazepin's not starting. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, Haas won't replace a driver for him. It could be. I mean, it's not going to make too much of a difference if there's 2 Haas's or 1 on the grid, really, is it? But that's disappointing. It is his rookie season. He wants as many laps as he possibly can get in that Haas car. And I think Mazepin has improved quite considerably. It's probably not, the most popular opinion, but I think Nikita Mazepin has actually been not terrible, which is what you're expecting from him, I guess. He's not been terrible, is what I would say, over the last few races or so. Oh, Valtteri Bottas is wearing the blue overalls instead of the black today. Is that like a special tribute for him? Obviously, because this is his last race with the Mercedes team. We'll be moving over to Alfa Romeo next year. There's Lando Norris, the man starting in 3rd place, and could have a massive swing in how this championship goes today. I want to thank all of you guys for watching, as we're about 10 minutes away. 14 likes on the stream as well. Thank you so much for all of those likes, especially, the big streamers are going to be streaming the race today as well. And I do massively appreciate you guys stopping by, even if it is, stopping by, leaving a like, subscribing, and then disappearing off to one of those bigger streamers. It does massively help, just coming by, dropping a like and saying hello in the chat. But we get prepared. Lewis Hamilton getting into the car then. Max Verstappen also getting set up and helmet on for him. The tension builds on the grid between these two. Lewis Hamilton, a 7-time world champion, 8 wins this season. But Max Verstappen, his first world championship at stake. Oh my goodness, the orange wall of fans, the Dutch fans, just turn out everywhere that they possibly can. I think, I talk about the Tifosi quite often, and I think still the Tifosi are the best fans in Formula One. They live and breathe Ferrari, but there are some Dutch fans out there that are Max Verstappen crazy, aren't they? They are in full force here today. There's an entire stand which is orange and flying the Dutch flags for Max Verstappen here in Abu Dhabi. That is a hell of a trek that those guys have put in, and I massively appreciate the fact that they have done that and have come across to represent Max Verstappen here in Abu Dhabi at the Yas Marina circuit, looking out over the water then. But the focus is here on track. Should we very quickly just go over the track for those guys that maybe weren't here for the pre-race and the qualifying? There has been changes to the track. So turn 5, 6, and 7 is now just turn 5 at the top of the screen there. And you can see the DRS zone down into 6 and 7. And then also turn 9 has been changed. It used to be a sort of chicane stroke, like flip-flap, like you used to go left, right, left. And then now it's just one swooping left-hander. So we could see cars, really, and especially off the line, we could see Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen going down into turn 1 side by side and following each other all the way through into turn 5. Then all the way down into 6 and 7, through to 9. The cars can go side by side pretty much all the way through the first and second sectors. And then it gets into the hotel section. We can go. Is it just the table or a full watch-along? I don't know what you mean, Katie. I'm sorry. It's a full... we'll be watching it, but I will also have a table. I don't know. Hello, Antonio. How we doing, mate? Good to see you back again. Always here first, actually, Antonio. Were you here first today? He's always first in the chat. He wasn't. Antonio, well, I'm very having words. Here we go, then. Alain Prost, the world champion 4 times in Formula One, stepping onto the grid, having a little look at the Mercedes cars. Actually, all the way back at the Alpine, having a little look. Hello, guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're just sort of building up last 5 minutes or so. Qualification, just pop it up for you again, just to run through. Verstappen, Hamilton, Norris, and Perez are the top 4. Sainz and Bottas will start on the 3rd row of the grid. Leclerc and Tsunoda just behind them. Ocon and Ricciardo round out the top 10. And then Alonso, Gasly, Stroll, Giovinazzi just outside of that top 10. What can they do from that position where they've got, their choice of tyres? Be interesting to know if they go onto the mediums or softs at the start of this Grand Prix. And then Vettel, Latifi, Russell, Raikkonen in his final race in Formula One. Schumacher and Mazepin apparently will not start this Grand Prix. So the only 19 drivers will be starting here today. Hello, guys. How we doing? Hello, Roland as well, coming into the chat. How we doing? We're getting ready. I don't even know what to say, guys. I don't even know what to say. I don't know how to speak because we are just in this position where I'm just on tender hooks. I'm not even I can't imagine being a Mercedes or a Red Bull fan at this moment in time. Like the suspense, the pressure, the expectation is just ridiculous, and like I'm feeling it, and I'm a McLaren fan, so I just can't imagine what it's going to be like for you guys as we go towards the final race of the season. It goes all the way down to this then. Both on equal points. Don't know if you've noticed they're on equal points. Not many people have been talking about it that often, but they are on equal points going into this final race. 369.5. Max Verstappen leads the championship on wins alone. 9 wins for the Dutchman compared to just the 8 wins for Lewis Hamilton. Hello, May. How you doing? Pit stops are going to decide who's the winner. I think so. I think it's going to come massively down to strategy. Obviously, Max Verstappen starting on the softs will get away a lot quicker off the line, you'd imagine, but Lewis Hamilton on the mediums will have a longer first stint in the tank and therefore maybe be able to catch up towards the end of the first stint on those tyres. Wishing upon a 3-pointed star for Lewis and Mercedes victory. Love that. Merc all the way. Here we go. Both Mercedes-Benz and Red Bull deserve the glory. It is so tight to call. Like, both of them have been so good this year, haven't they? Just every single race, both of these drivers just been on a complete level of their own, really. If you think about it, just the fact that they've continually been miles ahead of everybody else. In the last few races, they finished minutes up the road compared to the rest of the field. Those two just stand out alone as wonderful, wonderful drivers for this season. Like, they have been absolutely sensational. And now it's just whether or not they can continue that into the final race of the season, and then which one of them has that extra little bit, that extra tenacity, that guile, that decisiveness to go into the final race of the season and grab the world championship with both hands. Obviously, experience is on the side of Lewis Hamilton. Hunger is on the side of Max Verstappen. They both want this massively, but the two will have to become one. There will only be one winner here today. As we're seeing the build-up now. Looking across the water of the Yas Marina. 5.2 kilometers, 3.2 miles all the way around. Split into 3 sectors. The brand new DRS zones put in as well. Down towards the new turn 5 and turn 9. For them. Also, the hotel section has been slightly changed, has been made a little bit easier to go through, that tiny bit faster, and also doesn't degrade on the tyres too much. Used to degrade the tyres lots through that hotel section, but now a little bit more lenient on tyre temperatures at least, so hopefully a little bit easier for those guys to get through that section. Through sort of turn 12, 13, 14, and 15 round towards the final corner. 16 corners all the way around this circuit here today. Obviously, the tyre compounds, the soft compound is the Red Bull tyre, mediums in yellow, and the harder compound in white as well. So, Lewis Hamilton starts on the medium, Max Verstappen starts on the red. Oh my goodness me. Oh, I just realised I'll pop the quali grid up for you as we build towards this Grand Prix. Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, the two that everybody's got their eyes on, start on the front row. Lando Norris up for his first ever Grand Prix win. We've seen him get thirds, we've seen him get seconds this year, but can he round it out with a win here in the final race of the season? Sergio Perez, his teammate, in with a chance for winning his first world championship. What can he do from 4th place to help him? Carlos Sainz is in the hunt for 5th place in the Drivers' Championship and starts in 5th in this one. Valtteri Bottas in 6th place. Charles Leclerc currently is 5th in the Drivers' Championship and will want to hold on to that, but needs to outdo Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz if he's going to hold on to that 5th place in the championship. Yuki Tsunoda with his best qualifying that I've seen in a very long time in 8th place. Ocon and Ricciardo start in 9th and 10th. Alonso just outside the top 10, but obviously gets his choice of tyres in 11th place. Pierre Gasly really off the pace yesterday in 12th. Lance Stroll, Giovinazzi start on the 7th row of the grid, with Vettel just behind and Latifi in front of his teammate for the second time this season. George Russell starts ahead of the final Grand Prix of Kimi Raikkonen's life. in Formula 1. And then Mick Schumacher will be on the final row of the grid all by himself, as Nikita Mazepin has been tested positive for COVID-19 and therefore will not take part in today's race. My goodness me. 24 likes on the stream. Thank you guys so much. I massively appreciate all the support that we've had over the course of the season. Obviously, we're up to 5,360 subscribers on the channel. Absolutely disgusting numbers that I never thought I would be able to achieve just in 1 year of doing this. But you guys have made that, dream come true. And here we go then. We've got one light left to go before we go onto our formation lap. Seconds to go in this one. We're underway. The formation lap starts. Lewis Hamilton starting just behind Max Verstappen. And now let's see what is going to happen between those two. Who won for the Lights Out 2021 now in the UK? What? Michelle? Not sure. Here we go then. The formation lap begins. And the crews and teams run across the track as quickly as they possibly can to get back over to the pit lane before the race begins. They have to just stop in and make sure that they've got everything and taken everything off of the track. They haven't got too long. They've got a couple of minutes while these cars go around, try and get temperature into their tyres as much as they possibly can. Let's go then. Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton right under the rear wing of Max Verstappen, just letting him know that he's definitely there. And now going down the back straight towards that new turn 9. There is so many Dutch fans in the top tier of that grandstand down towards turn 9. Through turn 8. Let it be good end to the year after an amazing season. I really hope so, Josh. I really do hope so. Chris, are the softs good for 15 laps? We don't really know. I feel like they might come in, yeah, probably around about lap. It depends how quickly they go off the... Like, Max Verstappen might be in the mindset that, these soft compound tyres, especially because he's done some qualification laps on them, might not be super great for very long at all. So he might just go balls to the wall, try and get around very, very quickly and open out a little bit of a gap so that maybe he can come in for some tyres a little bit earlier than expecting. Hoping for a solid race from Gasly. Me too, Cole. Me too. Although, to be honest with you, I've got all eyes on Lando Norris in 3rd place. I really hope that he can get back up into 5th place in the Drivers' Championship. As we see Jos Verstappen at the side of the track. Max Verstappen then takes his place at the front of the grid. Lewis Hamilton leaving quite a bit of a gap, but now takes his place in 2nd. Christian Horner watches on in anticipation. Can Red Bull be back at the top of the tree for this Christmas? Or will it be Mercedes the star again in 2021? Here we go then. Fernando Alonso and Pierre Gasly are the next drivers to take their positions. Lance Stroll also coming through. We're seeing Mick Schumacher just coming around the last couple of corners or so. So coming around the final bend. There we are. And the safety car does indeed come around. Green flagged. The lights are on. 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're away for the final race of the 2021 season. Max Verstappen gets a terrible start and Lewis Hamilton is ahead. Lewis Hamilton is ahead going into the first corner. It's terrible from Lando Norris as well. He's lost out to Sergio Perez straight away off the line. But Max Verstappen gets an awful start and Lewis Hamilton takes the lead of this Grand Prix. It's not over yet though. Max Verstappen on the soft compound tyre has a little look at Lewis Hamilton down in towards turn 5, but doesn't get quite close enough. Now we've got the 2 big straights though down towards turn 6 and 7. Lewis Hamilton punching a hole in the air for Max Verstappen. What can the Dutchman do? Down towards the first big braking zone. Has a look down the inside. Max Verstappen pushes Lewis Hamilton wide. Oh my goodness me. I think that might be a penalty there for Max Verstappen. He's pushed Lewis Hamilton massively off the track. But Lewis Hamilton does still have the lead of the Grand Prix. Max Verstappen going around turn 9 now. Is really, really angry at Lewis Hamilton for not giving him the place. That's completely wrong, so I'm just going to get rid of that boy. Oh my goodness me. Verstappen just locks up, I think, or maybe just goes a little bit wide. Messes up that tiny little amount. Carlos Sainz is also up into 4th place, just while we're watching these two title rivals go wheel to wheel. So it's Hamilton, Verstappen, Perez. Hamilton on the radio saying that he was pushed off track by Max Verstappen. And I think he was pushed off track, to be honest with you. I know that, people are going to see that differently from whichever perspective they're in, if they're a Mercedes or a Red Bull fan. But for me, I think Verstappen knew that that was an opportunity to get past and went for it. And I think, Lewis Hamilton was maybe dodging a collision between the two there. Here we go then. We're down towards turn 6 again on the second lap of this Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton out in front now. Oh my goodness. I'm sweating. I'm sweating, guys. It's so much. It's so busy on the track. Lewis Hamilton now has a 1.3 second lead over Max Verstappen, but they are now coming down the fast straight towards turn 9. Let's see what's happened then. So Lewis Hamilton does... Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Max Verstappen lunges into the corner. And, I'm not sure that the FIA will do anything about that. I think they'll just let those two keep their positions and let them two keep going in this race. Start sending the emails. Yeah, exactly. They don't check their emails during the race. We know this now. Fastest lap from Lewis Hamilton, though. Right, let me put together the current standings. So it is Hamilton from Verstappen. Hamilton from Verstappen. Sergio Perez has taken to 3rd place in this Grand Prix. Carlos Sainz finds himself all the way up into 4th place. A great start from him. With Norris dropping down into 5th. Charles Leclerc just behind Lando Norris in 6th place. And Yuki Tsunoda's also been able to jump up in front of Valtteri Bottas, which is very interesting indeed. Ocon and Ricciardo have been able to keep their places. So is Alonso and Gasly. Giovinazzi's made a place up on Stroll. Stroll, Vettel, and and the steward's saying that they're not going to do anything in particular, and that they haven't really gained an advantage, and that Max Verstappen did push him wide, and I think that is fair. There you go then. So I'll pop up the race board for you. Apologies, I was just lost in Lewis Hamilton versus Max Verstappen to even worry about what was going on. No investigation necessary, and Max Verstappen is being told over the radio. Max Verstappen saying that's incredible, and obviously Max Verstappen's not been the kindest driver to the FIA over the course of the season, and still now doesn't have a massive positive opinion of them, especially after that. So Lewis Hamilton, the 4th lap of this Grand Prix, is still in the lead. Now has a 1.7 second lead over the Red Bull Honda behind him. But Sergio Perez is also there. So this allows, maybe Red Bull to go 2 versus 1 with the Mercedes, try something different in the pit stops. Lewis kept the lead, so I think he shouldn't get a penalty. Oh yeah, definitely. I think they'll just leave it there. They'll leave it there. I think Max Verstappen does push him wide, but obviously then Lewis Hamilton just drives in a straight line across the escape section. And wow, Lewis Hamilton gets such a good start from the Grand Prix. And everybody was talking about how the soft compound tyre was going to be the tyre to get the best start off of. Maybe it was the medium. Maybe Lewis Hamilton just able to get that little bit more temperature in there, or Lewis Hamilton, it's so good. His reaction time, nearly a tenth of a second better than Max Verstappen. So much quicker off the line, 0.4 of a second quicker to the 200km/h section. And yeah, Max Verstappen just pushes Lewis Hamilton off there. I know that, Red Bull fans can have a completely different opinion, but Max Verstappen doesn't actually make the corner either. He doesn't make the corner. Obviously, Lewis makes up a massive gap from going across. Yeah, Lewis Hamilton can't do anything there. He's already turning in. And Max Verstappen dives up the inside. He's got to do something. He's got to try everything that he possibly can. Because Lewis Hamilton now with a 2-second lead in the 5th lap of this Grand Prix. So, my heart is pounding. My heart is actually pounding. Oh my goodness me. Last lap, Max Verstappen 0.2 of a second slower. The soft compound tyres going off already. Remember, he will have put lots of pressure on them in that qualifying in Q2 yesterday to set that fast lap. And Lewis Hamilton maybe just being able to, guide those softer compounds a little bit, or that medium compound a little bit better. Vettel and Stroll have swapped positions, whether that's been from the team or from the two of them just having a little bit of a battle. But yeah, Max Verstappen now 2 seconds behind. Sergio Perez 2 seconds behind that. But already those three eking out a 5-second gap to Carlos Sainz in 4th place. Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc having a bit of a back and forth in 5th and 6th between them. And actually Charles Leclerc, obviously the helmet cam for this weekend, which they're just showing. I do love this helmet cam. It looks so video game-esque, doesn't it? I know that the quality is terrible, but if anything, that just adds to it. The fact that you see those bumps and jitters that these drivers actually go through and the tiny letterbox that they actually get to see through in that visor. Yeah, Josh, I think you're right. The mediums do look a little bit better than the softs here. We know that the temperatures are similar to what we had in free practice 2. And Red Bull on the radio then saying that they're not best pleased with the decision from the FIA. And a lack of consistency. Wow, Christian Horner. We know that Christian Horner's obviously going to be massively defensive of his team, but the smack talk towards the FIA is coming out already from Christian. Oh, it was Stroll and Vettel going wheel to wheel, actually. Ooh, and yeah, good move from Sebastian Vettel there on his teammate. I thought it might have been a little bit of team orders. Maybe, Vettel was the faster driver and they're on different strategies or what have you. But no, just Vettel with a really lovely move on Lance Stroll down towards turn 6. And then managed to keep that place ahead of his teammate. Wow. Red Bull on the radio to the FIA again, saying that, Max Verstappen stayed within the boundaries of the track. Max Verstappen was ahead at the apex. All of those key words that are in the FIA's dictionary. But the FIA are not going to budge. They've reviewed it. They are not going to investigate it, the words from the FIA. So Red Bull, I think, need to give up the ghost on that one and maybe just focus on the race ahead of them. Let's leave that to one side. We can always look at that after the Grand Prix if we need to. But Red Bull need to focus on now and, they can still win this on track rather than in the FIA's room. So Lewis Hamilton only 2 seconds ahead. And Max Verstappen seems to have been able to keep that gap of 2 seconds for the last few laps or so. So no longer dropping behind as much, maybe because he's now out of the dirty air of the Mercedes car. Lewis Hamilton, though, going around the final corner and starting the 8th lap of the Grand Prix with a fastest lap. So does go even quicker still on those medium compound tyres, does Lewis Hamilton. Is he being given the push from the Mercedes team? Do they know that these medium compound tyres are going to last that little bit longer than the softs, so they can maybe push on them a little bit more. But as I said, Max Verstappen not losing out too much to Lewis Hamilton, only 8/800ths of a second, between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen in that last lap. Jos Verstappen there disappearing off into the back of the Red Bull garage as Lewis Hamilton comes down towards the controversial turn 6 and 7. I'm sure that there will be lots of talk about that after the Grand Prix. And of course, if Lewis Hamilton comes out on top in this championship, Red Bull fans will go absolutely crazy about that incident. But the FIA have stood firm on their decision. They're not looking into it. Coming around to the final sector then, towards the hotel, Max Verstappen 2.3 seconds now behind Lewis Hamilton, but Sergio Perez still within touching distance, which you can't really say for Carlos Sainz. It is an agonisingly long wait, 9 seconds, before Carlos Sainz comes around the same corner that Sergio Perez just left. But Norris, Leclerc and Tsunoda all sort of staying within that pack. Carlos Sainz just running at the tip of the tree in 4th place. Obviously has a little bit of an eye on another podium this season, does Carlos Sainz, and also could possibly outdo his teammate. Needs to get 9 more points than his teammate Charles Leclerc today if he's going to come ahead of him in the driver's standings. Max Verstappen, rears are starting to struggle a little bit. We're on lap 9 of this Grand Prix. We're expecting, I'd say, the soft compound tyres lap 12 to 15. Is that a little bit early? 12 to 15 is my estimate on when the softer compounds will need to come in. As we're looking at Yuki Tsunoda in and amongst the midfield teams for the first time in a long time. Looking at the back of a Ferrari in Charles Leclerc is the Japanese driver. Max is giving me a lot of Schumi senior dirty moves. I think I'm not enjoying it. It's a pity. Yeah, I personally, I don't have a dog in this race. I'm not a massive Lewis Hamilton fan. I appreciate what he's done for the sport, but I don't follow him as like an avid fan. Neither Max Verstappen, to be honest with you. I appreciate, it's very, very young and tenacious, and I like the fact that he's in the sport and has come in with this fresh new, idea of how drivers should drive, and comes in with a very attacking style. But I think Max Verstappen was in the wrong there of the two. And I think Red Bull pushing it for the FIA to have a look, I think maybe they could even, lose out themselves, because I think Max Verstappen was more at fault for that. And I think, if Lewis Hamilton wasn't going to go off the track, he would have collided. So that was just the way that it was. Hello, Edward. How you doing, mate? You're right. 10 laps in then. And Max Verstappen, 12 laps on those tyres. So 2 more laps left in them, maybe. To like 2 to 5 laps left in them before he's going to need to come in. But then what can Sergio Perez do in 3rd place? Because he's just about hung on to the back of those two. He is 6.5 seconds off Lewis Hamilton, is Sergio Perez. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what Sergio Perez can do, but maybe he can just about get in the way. Obviously, Lewis Hamilton won't need to pit until, the pack behind Carlos Sainz, Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc. He's trying to eke out a bit more of a lead on those so that he can come in comfortably. Lewis did gain a lot of time going across the track, but apparently they gave that time back. So, hello, Sally. How you doing? So excited the race was live on Channel 4. Forgot to tune in. That is absolutely fine, Sally. I appreciate that, it is the last race of the year. People will want to watch it in any way that they possibly can. But I appreciate you stopping by. It's lovely to see you. Let's see then. Where is the gap to Carlos Sainz? So Carlos Sainz currently 18 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton. So Lewis Hamilton only needs, another 4 or 5 seconds on Carlos Sainz. And then he can, pit without having to worry about that midfieldy battle getting in his way, as they show another replay of Max Verstappen. He really just doesn't get off the line. He's standing still by the time Lewis Hamilton has passed him. And then, again, showing that replay down into... Oh, no. For me, just lunges. Complete lunge. Ooh, yeah. See, if Lewis Hamilton follows the line that he's going for there, there's going to be contact. and he has to go off. I don't know. Apparently, though, Mercedes has been asked to give back the time that was gained by Lewis Hamilton. I think that's the thing. If we can see that Lewis Hamilton made an active, decision to sort of drop back that tiny little bit in the third sector, then that is fair enough. Lewis Hamilton, though, eking out more of a lead. As I said, I think these soft tyres have only got 2 more laps in them. We're now on lap 12. So I think we're going to see a pit stop very, very soon for the Red Bull cars. The problem that they've got is that they won't, come out in clean air. They will come out in that Sainz, Norris, Leclerc kind of area. Maybe even towards Tsunoda and Bottas at this point. What is the gap? Verstappen's 4 seconds. Yeah, so Verstappen would come out in and around Valtteri Bottas if he pitted now. But Red Bull need to do something, because Verstappen's just going to drop off the back of this Mercedes car with Lewis Hamilton on the medium compounds and sticking in lap time after lap time, fastest lap after fastest lap now is Lewis Hamilton. Is this, just the absolute dominance that we've seen from Lewis Hamilton continuing into this Grand Prix, the experience that he's got, everything going for him in this Grand Prix, finally coming together for the Mercedes team? The lead is growing, yeah. And Verstappen, rear tyres are really struggling for Verstappen now. He needs something. Needs to do something or another. So Lewis Hamilton, 4.9 seconds now, the gap I've just seen from Max Verstappen. Oh, it's a long race to go, obviously, but it's not looking good for the Red Bull car, especially as, again, they don't come in. They're trying to eke out as much time as possible. Just, can they leave him on the soft compound just long enough so that they don't have to come out near Yuki Tsunoda and Valtteri Bottas? I think is what they're trying to do. But they're not really doing too much. Valtteri Bottas still within that zone where he could come out in and around. It's going to be painful for Red Bull to try and find a gap to properly pit. It's very, very... And yeah, oh my God. Yeah, the time is just dropping off Lewis Hamilton. Fastest first sector. And Verstappen losing out on nearly 0.4 of a second. They need to do something. Red Bull need to blink as soon as they possibly can. Bottas had another bad start, and it looks like he's not pushing. I think, yeah, Bottas has just not been great off the start line in the last few races or so, has he? And now just dropping considerably. But he is on the mediums, don't forget. So Bottas and Tsunoda, I think, are the next cars on the mediums. Verstappen, Perez, Sainz, Norris, and Leclerc all on softs. We keep losing gears, being told to Lando Norris. That is not the kind of thing that you want to hear when you're battling with the 2 Ferraris in 5th place. Here we go then. Max Verstappen is into the pit lane. Max Verstappen is into the pit lane. Let's see where he's going to come out amongst the drivers then. I think it's going to be behind Charles Leclerc would be the dream, I think, for Verstappen. But is he going to get ahead of Yuki Tsunoda? Not so sure. Carlos Sainz makes his way past the Red Bull as Verstappen goes under the tunnel then. And Lando Norris is past Charles Leclerc. Looks like he's going to get past 2. No, he's just ahead of Charles Leclerc makes a massive mistake, actually. Maybe distracted by Verstappen, and Charles Leclerc actually loses a place to Yuki Tsunoda. And Charles Leclerc made a real hash of that. But Verstappen comes out in 5th place then. So it's just behind Lando Norris and easily passes Lando Norris, actually, down in towards the first hard braking zone in turn 6. Charles Leclerc having a little go back at Yuki Tsunoda. What can he do? Not quite enough. The Japanese driver is going to stick in front. Lewis Hamilton is coming in, though. Box. They're just going to react to Red Bull's time. They're just going to react. Charles Leclerc does take that place back from Yuki Tsunoda on the softer compound tyre as well, with Yuki on the mediums. But Mercedes are just going to cover off with Lewis Hamilton in the pits then. Is that the harder compounder tyre goes on to the Mercedes car. So Sergio Perez is now going to lead this Grand Prix by quite a considerable margin from Lewis Hamilton in second. Carlos Sainz is in third. And will Hamilton get ahead of Carlos Sainz? Yeah, quite comfortably ahead of Carlos Sainz then. So Sergio Perez now leads this Grand Prix. And Hamilton is come out in second place. Carlos Sainz then, the man that is in the way for Max Verstappen. Oh, he just makes I don't know. Charles Leclerc gets really distracted maybe by Max Verstappen coming out of the pits, or just completely forgets about turn 3 and goes across the runoff. And then Yuki Tsunoda has a little go at the Ferrari. Wow. Charles Leclerc making a huge error, not something that we see from him very often. So we've got Perez, Hamilton, Sainz, Verstappen, Norris as our top 5. Leclerc, Tsunoda, Bottas, Ocon, and Ricciardo. So I'll pop that race board up for you. Sergio Perez has been told Hamilton's pitted. And plan A for Sergio Perez. So Perez may be going a little bit longer on these soft compound tyres. We know Sergio Perez loves a long stint on some tyres when, realistically, it shouldn't happen. Sergio Perez is the king of just being able to hold on to tyres even when they've been destroyed. Carlos Sainz, though, what sort of issues will Max Verstappen have getting past the Spaniard in third place? Because at the moment, Lewis Hamilton is, flying around in second place, has got 10 seconds of clear air in front of him with Sergio Perez. Oh, and we're seeing Charles Leclerc in the pits. Charles Leclerc in the pits then. And also Esteban Ocon as well. So, again, I'll drop this off for you. So, Esteban Ocon and Charles Leclerc come into the pits. They're going to come out 15th and 16th, respectively. Or no, Ocon, no, Latifi goes past. So, Verstappen now looking at the back of the Ferrari. The Ferrari on very old soft compound tyre. Has gone very long on that stint, has the Spaniard in Carlos Sainz. Max Verstappen is going to have DRS as well, down in towards turn 5 and turn 6, 7, and 9. But doesn't look like he's been able to get past this time around. No, he hasn't been able to as they get towards the hotel section. So Verstappen still behind Carlos Sainz. Maybe a little bit of time being lost, especially as Lewis Hamilton is gaining on Sergio Perez. Was 10 seconds the gap, now 8.8 seconds as Hamilton sets a fastest lap of this Grand Prix. And Hamilton now 8.6 seconds behind Sergio Perez, so is just putting in lap after lap, fastest lap after fastest lap, while Verstappen has to look at the rear wing of the Ferrari. Max Verstappen on board. Oh, gets a real snap in the penultimate corner and nearly loses it. Does go off of the white lines and sticks with Carlos Sainz just that little bit, but will lose out quite a bit of time. Will he be able to attack Carlos Sainz this lap with that mistake in the penultimate corner? We'll have to wait and see. We're going down towards turn 6 then. The Red Bull gaining and gaining on the Ferrari, but just doesn't have the pace in a straight line. And obviously, Carlos Sainz on the softer compound of tyre as well is just able to keep Max Verstappen behind him. Do you think Red Bull couldn't do anything after Max messed up the start? I think so. I think, the strategy then became a lot more difficult for them, didn't it? When he lost track position. Because now Mercedes can just cover off whatever Max Verstappen does. Lewis Hamilton can just do the same a lap later. Red Bull were basically forced to be the first team to blink, weren't they? And this is what has happened because of that. Carlos Sainz still ahead of Max Verstappen as we go into lap 18 of this Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton sets another fastest lap, again gaining on Sergio Perez. Now 6.4 seconds the gap from Perez to Lewis Hamilton. It makes you wonder whether or not Red Bull might try and use Perez to slow down Hamilton and just basically sacrifice Perez's race to the cars in front. Lando Norris comes into the pits now, so Yuki Tsunoda will take 5th place on the medium compound of tyre. Lando Norris has been on those softs for a very long time indeed, although you could argue the same for Carlos Sainz, who's ahead of the Red Bull. Also has been Lewis Hamilton apparently will be within striking distance of Sergio Perez within 2 laps. Here we go then, Max Verstappen, can he have a little go at Carlos Sainz? It's down into turn 6 again. And yes, does hit the apex a lot sooner than the Ferrari, and Max Verstappen gets himself up into 3rd position. So Max Verstappen does need to, try and gain on Lewis Hamilton as much as he possibly can. Will Carlos Sainz have another little look back into turn 9? No, decides against it. And will probably come into the pits fairly soon, Carlos Sainz, you'd imagine. Although Sergio Perez yet to have pitted on the softer compound either. Yeah, Max Verstappen, a nice clean move, actually. Probably would have done that last lap had he not made the mistake in the penultimate corner, but does finally get the job done. And Lewis Hamilton is the next car up the road for Max Verstappen, although it is a considerable gap to Lewis Hamilton, the next car up the road. Nearly 9 seconds between the two championship rivals now. Sergio Perez, 3 seconds up the road for Lewis Hamilton, so will be within striking distance fairly soon. Sergio Perez, though, done 21 laps on those softer compound tyres. I know that he is the king of being able to make tyres go a little bit further than you'd expect, but even that is just silly to me. I think they'll be coming in fairly soon. Daniel Ricciardo, as we see, comes into the pits and onto the harder compound of tyre, the white walls tyre. If Lewis catches Checo, I think Lewis will fly by. Yeah, I think so. Like, Lewis just looks really quick on this harder compound of tyre, just setting fastest lap after fastest lap now, isn't he? It's now within 2 seconds of Sergio Perez, so we'll have DRS as well very, very soon. I think, he'll play it safe, Lewis Hamilton, and will use his DRS. Yeah, Sergio Perez being told on the radio, looking to hold up Lewis as much as he possibly can. So let's see how wide Sergio Perez can make his car. Let's see how much space Sergio Perez can use up. Lewis Hamilton now within a second of Sergio Perez, so we'll get DRS as we head into lap 20 of this Grand Prix. So Sergio Perez has to do something special here if he's going to keep Lewis Hamilton behind, because Lewis Hamilton's just gaining and gaining and gaining by seconds upon seconds every single lap. As they come towards the DRS detection zone, round turn 5, towards turn 6 then, Lewis Hamilton does have DRS. Carlos Sainz has finally come into the pits. Sergio Perez is weaving around a little bit, trying to hold up Lewis Hamilton as much as he can. And I don't think... Oh, no. Sergio Perez does come up the inside, though. Lewis Hamilton tries to tuck underneath and get a little bit of a better run off, and does indeed. Lewis Hamilton takes back the lead of this Grand Prix. Sergio Perez did all right there, to be fair. Oh, Sergio Perez having another little look at Lewis Hamilton down in towards turn 9 and takes the position back. Wow, okay. Sergio Perez doing a good job at holding up Lewis Hamilton, gets back ahead of the Mercedes car into turn 9 and then through the hotel section will hold him up. And Sergio Perez just basically holding up Lewis Hamilton massively, parking on the apexes of these corners. And this has put a real spanner in the works then. Sergio Perez making his car incredibly wide. Lewis Hamilton and Sergio Perez go wheel to wheel down into turn 1. And again, Sergio Perez is able to hold on to the lead of this Grand Prix. Max Verstappen now 3.5 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton, gaining massively. That's some dangerous driving, says Lewis Hamilton, but Sergio Perez is going to do anything that he possibly can. Lewis Hamilton's going to have DRS, though, down towards turn 6 again. Can Sergio Perez do another job? And Max Verstappen's now within the picture. Max Verstappen. Oh, Lewis Hamilton and Sergio Perez going wheel to wheel down towards turn 6. And Lewis Hamilton has retaken the lead of this Grand Prix. Can he hold it, though? We saw down in towards turn 9 last lap, Sergio Perez was really good at getting past Lewis Hamilton and holding him up into the hotel. I don't think he's going to be able to hold on, but he has done an amazing job. What an amazing job from Sergio Perez that was. That was sensational from the Mexican man. He has held up Lewis Hamilton massively. Remember, the gap between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen was 9 seconds. That is now down to 1.3. That is game on. Verstappen on the radio saying Checo is a legend. An absolute... I'm stunned by how good a drive that was. Max Verstappen was able to make up 5 seconds on that lap. Sergio Perez comes into the pits, and if Max Verstappen can win this championship, it's because of Sergio Perez. And I didn't know if I'd be saying that at the beginning of the season, but he has done a sensational job there. Lewis Hamilton really struggled behind Sergio Perez, and Perez just parked it on the apexes throughout the entire hotel section, backed up the Mercedes massively. Lewis Hamilton just could do nothing about it. And that's what you get if you've got 2 drivers in the hunt, compared to obviously Valtteri Bottas, who's a bit dead and buried down there in the middle of nowhere. Wow. Wow, that's all I can say. Tsunoda is now running 3rd place. Bottas in 4th, just behind him. And then Sergio Perez, after that amazing drive, has come out in 5th place behind Valtteri. Alonso and Gasly, the next drivers along then. Alonso and Gasly. And then we've got our midfieldy pack again. Carlos Sainz, Vettel in the mix behind Carlos Sainz. Norris and Leclerc just behind Vettel. Let me just pop that there. Ocon, Latifi. And Ricardo, Russell. Ricardo, Russell, Gio Stroll, Raikkonen. Wow. Where would it be? Wow. Okay, let me pop that up for you so that you can see Hamilton, Verstappen now within fighting distance from one another. 2 seconds the gap between the 2 championship rivals. Yuki Tsunoda yet to have stopped on the medium compound, running in 3rd place. Bottas in 4th. Sergio Perez in 5th. Alonso also yet to stop, as well as Gasly there behind those 2. Carlos Sainz, Vettel, Norris, Leclerc, Ocon, Ricciardo, Latifi, Russell, Giovinazzi, Stroll, Raikkonen in his final Grand Prix. And of course, Mick Schumacher rounding out the bottom. Nikita Mazepin not running. Sergio Perez. Consider plan A, Sergio Perez being told. Sergio Perez asking if we're going to the end. And the Red Bulls literally say, we're seeing what we can do to help out Max. That is just the way that it has run for Sergio Perez. He's the ultimate team player. Yuki Tsunoda comes into the pits now. So we'll come back out in and amongst. So Yuki Tsunoda now dropping down the order a little bit. Just hide that for a second and sort that out in a moment. I just want to see how Lewis Hamilton is getting on. Obviously had to run in the dirty air of Sergio Perez for a little while. And Perez slowed him down quite considerably. Maybe lost a little bit of temperature in the tyres during that time. but is setting fastest lap still. So now the gap up to 2.7 seconds between the Mercedes and Max Verstappen. It's again, even though Sergio Perez did such a wonderful job for the Red Bull team, it's still advantage Hamilton at this point, isn't it? He's got track position. The tyres are a lap younger than Max Verstappen's. And the harder compound, we will imagine, will continue on for quite a considerable amount of time in this Grand Prix. Verstappen, two tenths again. 2 tenths slower in the last lap. You know, Hamilton with his special engine in. Maybe that is the decisive factor. Valtteri Bottas still the only man on medium compounds in the top 10. Everybody else has gone onto the hard, although Nicholas Latifi and George Russell have decided to go onto the mediums themselves. So going for a little bit of a different strategy down at Williams to see if that can pay off later on down the line. Maybe if there's a safety car or something. Verstappen 2.8 seconds behind Lewis on the tag. Oh, I'm nervous. I'm so nervous, Sally. I'm so nervous. But you know what? We're just going to have to wait and see. It's 25 laps in. We're still not even halfway through this Grand Prix. And it's had some spice, a sprinkle of class, and already controversial decisions. And there's so much more left to come. Sergio Perez sets the fastest sector time in Sector 1, obviously on fresher tyres than pretty much anybody else on the grid, is Sergio. And he's now looking at whether he can help out Max Verstappen in some way again. Lewis Hamilton, though, rattling around this first sector and down towards turn 5. Max Verstappen nowhere near within DRS of him. Just having a little replay of Sergio Perez and Lewis Hamilton. And Sergio Perez does so well to just cut up the inside and try anything and everything that he possibly can to get past. Toto Wolff was on the radio, though, to the FIA. Dangerous driving. A little bit dangerous from Sergio Perez. Loves a little bit of danger, does the Mexican driver. Came right back up the inside in turn 9 and just stuck his car in front of Lewis Hamilton throughout the entire hotel section. No opportunity for Lewis Hamilton to pass through there, unfortunately for him. Does eventually, though, on lap 21. Oh my goodness me, it's very close between those drivers. And Kimi Räikkönen going slowly. Oh, you can see a little bit of damage to the front left end plate of his front wing. Oh, that would be a real shame if Kimi Räikkönen does have to retire from this. I think he'll be able to get it round to the pit lane and get a new front wing. And he's got a bit of a braking issue. And obviously has clipped his front wing somewhere as Kimi. Are we going to see a little replay? Yeah, we are. Okay. Down into turn 6. Wow, and just completely loses it. Yeah. Does bump his front wing into the Pirelli hoardings. Impressive that he kept the car going, to be fair. Had to reverse out from that. Not what you want to see in your final Grand Prix in Formula 1. You've got to remember, a former world champion, Kimi Räikkönen, an absolute legend of Formula 1 and one of many, many people's favourite drivers. But not great from Kimi. George Russell as well, going across. What's happened to George? He's lost drive. George Russell's completely lost all power in the Williams car. So Kimi Räikkönen, is he going to go back out? Decides against it, I think. Kimi Räikkönen is going to retire from this Grand Prix. And that is a real shame that Kimi goes out with a retiring. It's a shame. That is a real shame. I'm sad for Kimi there. George Russell, though, limping around in the Williams car. Is George Russell going to be able to get back to the pits, or is he going to have to stop somewhere on track? Doesn't look like he's got any power at all in that Williams car. Where is it then? Down towards turn 6 as well. Yeah, his engine just stops delivering any kind of power. He's in 5th gear, and you can see him like trying to change gear, trying to click something in the engine, but just nothing happening for George Russell, I'm afraid. In his final race in Williams as well. So it is a little bit of a curse. If it's your final race, wherever that might be, it does feel like you are inevitably going to have some issues by the looks of things. Latifi, Giovinazzi running ahead of Latifi, still in the Alfa Romeo. Daniel Ricciardo currently running outside the points, which is unfortunate for him. Ocon in 11th. And Tsunoda, Leclerc are the first guys in the points. Tsunoda, Leclerc. Norris, Sainz. Gasly is still going, by the way, out there, with Alonso just behind. Perez, Bottas. Here we go then. So this is currently what we're looking at, but we're starting to look towards the possible next round of pit stops. Lewis Hamilton on the radio saying that this is a long way to go on these tyres. Verstappen 3.6 seconds behind Lewis, but then Valtteri Bottas is about 23 seconds behind Verstappen. So if Verstappen did pit now, he would come out behind the Mercedes car. How on earth has Bottas not pitted yet? What's happened here? I know that they're trying to do something at Mercedes, stop Max Verstappen from winning this title, but Sergio Perez is gaining on Valtteri Bottas considerably every single lap. Latifi's dropped down, as Vettel and Stroll are able to get past the Williams car. He's come into the pits. Wow. Lewis Hamilton does set a fastest lap, though. As he, is it the classic Lewis Hamilton, my tyres are going off, actually I've just set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix? I think it might be, because he's now 4.2 seconds ahead. Here we go then. Lewis Hamilton is ahead. One more lap, Valtteri, and everything you've got before Valtteri Bottas is going to come in to the pits. Here we go then. Bottas, Gasly, and Alonso yet to have stopped, to be fair. They're definitely on the one-stop strategy. Going to have to move on to... Well, Bottas is going to move on to the hard compound tyre. And Alonso and Gasly probably over onto the mediums, you would imagine. It's a shame that Russell, Raikkonen are out of this Grand Prix. And of course, Mazepin didn't start the Grand Prix. Haas deciding just to run one car for this final race of the 2021 season. It's a big game of chess now as we enter lap 31 of this Grand Prix, isn't it? Max Verstappen now 4.2 seconds off of Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton, though, on the radio saying that his tyres aren't going to last forever. Max Verstappen's tyres actually a lap older than Lewis Hamilton's, and Valtteri Bottas has been on those tyres since the beginning of the Grand Prix. Sergio Perez, though, now having a look at the back of the Mercedes and is going to move past Valtteri Bottas as he comes into the pit. So Sergio Perez able to take that place back from Bottas. And Bottas now out of the pits. Be interested to see where he comes out in and amongst all of this, Valtteri, because he's now going to have some very fresh tyres in comparison to the guys in front of him. Alonso, Gasly and Sainz all disappear around the first corner in front of Valtteri. And that looks like possibly Lando Norris is passed as well. And Charles Leclerc just about gets past too. So Valtteri Bottas drops all the way down to 9th place with that in front. So Perez and Alonso. Where's Alonso? Alonso alphabetically first, of course. And Sainz. And Norris. And Leclerc. And Bottas drops in. Leclerc trying to keep the Mercedes behind. Bottas gaining and gaining on Charles Leclerc, but not quite able to make it happen. Obviously on the much, much fresher tyres. How about Alonso in P4? I know, but he hasn't stopped yet. And is not very far ahead of the guys behind him, unfortunately. Carlos Sainz only 4 seconds behind Alonso. So when Alonso does have to pit, it is going to drop him back quite considerably. Although it depends if he's going for a 1-stop. Carlos Sainz might be going for a 2-stop strategy. Never know. And therefore, Alonso might be able to make up quite a bit of time towards the end of this Grand Prix. We'll be on the medium compounds, you'd imagine, in the Alpine car. Charles Leclerc again keeping Valtteri Bottas behind. It is insane just how slow Bottas looks compared to Hamilton when he's behind these kind of cars. I know that Sergio Perez was able to keep Lewis Hamilton behind for a lap or so, but Valtteri Bottas just doesn't look like he's going to be anywhere near the Ferrari as he goes down the straights. And yeah, he's not. Gets DRS, flying towards turn 6. Still nowhere near Charles Leclerc, nowhere near making a move, at least, in terms of getting past the Ferrari. He's just going to be stuck behind Charles Leclerc. It's not going to be helpful for him in the long run. Looking at the times, though, Lewis Hamilton is now 30 seconds ahead of Sergio Perez, so he won't have to worry about him again if he does have to pit. Although Sergio Perez is gaining a little bit of time. It's whether or not he can gain just enough to get back into that pit window of Lewis Hamilton and maybe help out Max Verstappen a little bit, because Max Verstappen dropping off the back of the Mercedes. 5.2 seconds now the gap, and Lewis Hamilton on the radio. Mercedes, if we were to stop under safety car, would you prefer medium or hard? And Lewis Hamilton, both tyres feel good. Mercedes feeling maybe a little bit confident about their Grand Prix from this position. And, you can't blame them. They're looking very strong indeed. Charles Leclerc's helmet cam then going around turn 5. Now, is Valtteri Bottas going to be able to make a move this time around? Checo's all hard work almost undone. I think, he did as much as he possibly could, Checo. I don't think he could have done much more to keep Lewis Hamilton behind without just smashing into him, because they were very, very close going through 6, 7 and down also in towards turn 9 as well. They were very, very close to one another. And Valtteri Bottas is going to have another look at Charles Leclerc. Tries to go maybe around the outside into turn 9. Just nothing happening for Valtteri Bottas, even on this super fresh, harder compound tyre compared to Charles Leclerc's. But he's not brave enough. He just uses his tyres. And the fact he is in a Merc. Who's this? Valtteri Bottas. Maybe, yeah. He's not great when it comes under sort of pressure overtakes, is he? But that's always been the case, it's never been his forte. He's always been very, very good on one lap. And I think that's the thing that Bottas has lacked this season, is usually he's right up there in terms of qualifying. He does have quite a few pole positions this year, to be fair, but just hasn't been as quick in qualifying as he usually is. Charles Leclerc being told he's doing a very, very good job keeping Valtteri Bottas behind. And I would agree. I would very much agree. Alonso and Gasly yet to have stopped, though. It's very interesting for me at this point in the race. How long are they going to go? We're on lap 35 now. They've been on the same hard compound tyre for the entire Grand Prix. It makes you wonder if they might go for like a cheeky soft stint at the end and just go absolutely crazy. Oh, as Valtteri Bottas is finally able to make a move on Charles Leclerc. It's been coming for the last few laps or so. But Charles Leclerc just dropping behind the Mercedes of Valtteri Bottas just after the Ferrari team say that he is doing really well as well. That's a little bit annoying for Charles Leclerc, you'd imagine, but keeping Valtteri Bottas behind for that long was very impressive still. Yeah, it's just down into turn 6. Valtteri Bottas just about with the DRS, gets on the inside line, does get to the apex. Charles Leclerc tries to sort of come back underneath and doesn't quite have the pace on those older tyres. Oh, who is that running very, very slowly? That Antonio Giovinazzi running very, very slowly. Now, is he running slowly because he's run out of power, or is he running slowly because he was just trying to get out of the way? No shifting. So Giovinazzi looks like he's going to be out of this Grand Prix. And Giovinazzi parks the car to the side of the road as well. So Giovinazzi out of the Grand Prix. And it's his final race in Formula 1 too. That is a shame. Now, he's parked in a little bit of a weird place for me. Don't know why he would have parked there. But will they put out a virtual safety car then? Will we see, or maybe even a full safety car? He is off the racing line and off the track, but kind of like not in a good position. Kind of put it in a bit of a weird spot. Lewis Hamilton now 25 seconds ahead of Sergio Perez. I told you Perez was making moves and making up positions, making up time. Virtual safety car. Here we go then. We do have a virtual safety car. So this gives me an opportunity to have a little look. So Alonso and Gasly might be able to make the most of this. Are they coming into the pits? I have to wait and see. Doesn't look like it. Maybe. Alonso and Gasly definitely coming in. Oh, Ferrari coming in. Leclerc straight in. Lewis Hamilton being told to stay out. Stay out. Okay. I'll get rid of this because there's going to be some pit stops during this virtual safety car and it'll revamp the order just that tiny little bit. Safety car towards the end, says Spicy King. Maybe. And Adrich, you were right. Yellow flag definitely incoming. Yellow flag to the extent we're having a virtual safety car. Red Bull come out though. Verstappen boxing. Verstappen boxing. Pit confirm. Verstappen boxes. Brand new harder compound tyres then for Max Verstappen. Does Lewis Hamilton come in at the end of this lap, maybe? If you're a Mercedes, what do you do? All eyes now on Lewis Hamilton and the Mercedes pit wall. Will the virtual safety car be out long enough for Hamilton to get around again, you know? Giovinazzi was parked off of the racing line. Sergio Perez comes into the pits as well, so Red Bull just taking this massive opportunity under the virtual safety car. And again, this does lend into Red Bull's hands a little bit because Lewis Hamilton was sort of first on the radio. Oh, and Toto Wolff saying, please no safety car to the FIA. I'm not sure that, you know, Toto Wolff should really be deciding whether or not there is a safety car or not, but I think, you know, virtual safety car is the right choice. But now what are Mercedes going to do? Do they pit? Still got a 20. Oh, it's going to be close if Hamilton does come in. It's going to be a very, very good pit stop they need. If Hamilton is going to come in on the harder compound. I think personally he should. Whether he does is a different thing. Lewis Hamilton coming around the final corner then. Is he coming into the pits? No. And the virtual safety car is ending. Virtual safety car is ending. Ouch. Lewis Hamilton not happy. Lewis Hamilton now 19 seconds ahead of Max Verstappen. 20 laps of this race to go, and that has really put a cat amongst the pigeons. Let me rejig the order. So Carlos Sainz is now running in 4th place, as Alonso and Gasly did both come in. Norris is running behind Carlos Sainz. Bottas then running in 6th place. Alonso then in 7th now. Very impressive. Alonso and Tsunoda. Gasly as well, but into the top 10. Ocon, Ricciardo. Leclerc, Vettel, Stroll, Mick, Latifi. So Max Verstappen needs 0.8 of a second per lap to catch Lewis Hamilton. So Lewis Hamilton obviously staying out on the harder compound, going until the end of the race. You'd imagine now that they're going to need either, a virtual safety car or a safety car or something. And let's see then. Max Verstappen sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. 16.3 seconds. And Verstappen was 0.8 of a second quicker than Lewis Hamilton in the last lap. Hamilton on the radio, bit of a risk leaving me out, yes, but the guy's arguing that, track position was key there. It was pretty impossible to decide for Mercedes. They'd either lose track position or they'd lose all of this time to Verstappen. They opted to go for losing the time rather than losing track position. And only the last few laps of the race are going to tell us whether that was the right decision or not. Nerves on the pit wall. We could also, we could see another virtual safety car. We've seen Raikkonen, Russell, and Giovinazzi all retiring from this race already. And these engines, these gearboxes, they're a season old now. And Fernando Alonso making a move on Tsunoda. Great move on Tsunoda, actually. Down to turn 9, is that? It is. Ooh. And yeah, Alonso saying that Tsunoda tried to push him off as he then moves ahead through the hotel section. So that'll be interesting to see who keeps that position out of those two. But it is going to come down to the final laps then. It's going to come down to, can Max Verstappen keep up the pace required? Or can Lewis Hamilton find something special on these medium compound tyres? It's gonna be the last few laps. It's gonna be, the last 2 or 3 laps where Max Verstappen is gonna get the chance to have a lunge at Lewis Hamilton. The last lap, 7/10 quicker than Lewis Hamilton. 18 laps of this Grand Prix left to go. I'm nervous. I think, we talked about them coming into Hamilton won't be able to keep up this pace for the whole way, he's saying. 26 lap old hard tyres. Starts lap 41 of the Grand Prix. The tyres are just going to drop off massively. And Verstappen's tyres, yes, Verstappen's tyres are going to be, dropping off too, but not to this extent. And will that be costly? Will that virtual safety car decide this championship? Will Giovinazzi not being able to park in a better position cost Lewis Hamilton the title overall. Dirty air will definitely come into play, Josh. You are quite right. There will be dirty air, but the tyre difference will be the really dramatic thing, right? Lewis Hamilton dropping, between 5 and 8 tenths a lap to Max Verstappen now. And that's not taking into account Max Verstappen, when he is within a second of Lewis Hamilton, with 2 laps left to go, is going to have DRS as well. So, Sergio Perez doing the job for Red Bull, plus the virtual safety car, has sort of swung this championship again. And it's Max Verstappen that looks like he's got the better of the 2 options going into this final few laps of this Grand Prix, the final few laps of 2021, and the championship still in the balance. Wow, middle part of the lap, Verstappen was slower. So Hamilton's still quicker through those 2 straights, down towards turn 6 and then down towards turn 9, still managing to be a little bit quicker. Alonso's given that place back to Tsunoda, actually, which I didn't do. Oh, Gasly is also lining up for a move on Alonso. As I just move Alonso, Gasly actually overtakes and takes that position from Alonso. Ocon running in 10th. Daniel Ricciardo just outside the points. Charles Leclerc, interestingly, is outside of the points. So that does put 5th place in the championship up for grabs for Lando Norris there. Especially if he can get just more than 4 points is all he would need. Let's see. Hamilton then. The gap now down to 14.2 seconds. The gap to Sergio Perez behind that is 12 seconds. So Lewis Hamilton not going to be able to pit now. Not going to be able to pit. Wow, Pierre Gasly moves ahead of Fernando Alonso. I don't know about you guys, but my heart actually hurts. I'm so worried, so nervous. I just don't want this championship to be decided by those 2 coming together on track. And, we all thought it was going to be down into turn 1 or down into turn 5 on the first lap. And it nearly was. It was down in turn 6, actually, where they nearly came together on the first lap of this Grand Prix. But now it's going to be, well, the last lap of this Grand Prix, where they might be in a position to come together again. The gap, 14.1 seconds. Lewis Hamilton does just manage to find time, doesn't he? Let's see the gaps in the last few laps or so. So lap 42, Verstappen was only able to gain 3 tenths. Remember, he needs 8 tenths a lap, and he's only been able to do 8 tenths once in the last 4. So it's going to be very interesting indeed. So close between these drivers. And the softs, the hard compound tyre, how long will it last? Will Max Verstappen be able to catch him? Or will Lewis Hamilton's tyres just give up, Like, maybe Verstappen doesn't need to gain 8 tenths a lap if Lewis Hamilton's tyres just dip off of a cliff with, 5 laps left to go. We saw it with the medium compounds last time out for Max Verstappen. 23 laps the difference in their 2 tyres. Lewis Hamilton's been on those harder compound tyres for 29 laps already. 15 laps left to go. Oh. I don't know what to say, don't know what to do. Just enjoying being here with you guys. All season, obviously, we've had this. My legs are bouncing. My legs are bouncing. My heart's pounding. I can't even, like, you guys actually, like, support Verstappen and Hamilton as well. I can't imagine the fear that you guys have got. Valtteri Bottas having a look at Lando Norris now. Remember, Valtteri Bottas's tyres also a lot cleaner than those guys in front. Sergio Perez, a long way for Hamilton to go, is being told on the radio. So maybe they're thinking that Hamilton will have to pit at some point and that Sergio Perez needs to get within that window of Lewis Hamilton, currently 27 seconds behind the Mercedes. So if he can get another 4 or 5 seconds on the Mercedes car will be able to cause him issues in the pit stops too. On board with Max Verstappen through the back turn 9 towards the hotel section. The pressure mounting. Back markers might come in to this as well. Mercedes just telling Lewis Hamilton that there are 4 cars in between Max Verstappen and himself, and obviously those cars are all battling for positions as well. There's still lots up for grabs. Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris looking at whether they can, gain on Charles Leclerc in the championship. Bottas as well, seeing if he can get back into it. His final race in a Mercedes. Can he get towards the podium positions? Yuki Tsunoda trying to outdo his teammate for the first time on track. Gasly gaining massively. Alonso and Ocon wanting to round out a really good season for Alpine. Daniel Ricciardo trying to have a good season as well for McLaren. Obviously that win, and it's been a bit lackluster since, but he'll want to end the season with some points. Charles Leclerc has been consistently one of the best drivers out there, and running in 12th today, though, will also have in mind that he wants to make up some positions and, again, hold on to 5th place in the Drivers' Championship. There's a lot going on throughout the grid still, and Max Verstappen's got to make his way through all of that if he's going to catch up to Lewis Hamilton by the end of this Grand Prix. Lap 45 here in Abu Dhabi. Lewis Hamilton has a 13.9 second gap to Max Verstappen. And we're seeing now that Lewis Hamilton is gaining on Daniel Ricciardo. So Ricciardo's going to have to get out of the way fairly quickly of Lewis Hamilton, you'd imagine. Those cars are all rattling around in that battle. Leclerc, Daniel Ricciardo, all battling one another. Both of the Alpines in front too. So Lewis Hamilton has got to get past that crowd of 4. But then so will Verstappen. It's how much time either of those drivers will lose behind these guys. And the dirty air as well, remember, that Lewis Hamilton will not enjoy. That will degrade his tyres just that little bit more while he's in the dirty air of the Alpines. As we look at Oscar Piastri, obviously the 2021 Formula 2 World Champion. His with the Alpine team will be Alpine's sort of extra driver next year, and we're looking to move into Formula 1 as soon as possible, you'd imagine. Charles Leclerc has let Lewis Hamilton pass then, and Lewis Hamilton now behind Daniel Ricciardo. Will Daniel Ricciardo let him pass as we enter lap 47 of this Grand Prix? The gap to Verstappen still 13.4 seconds. So Verstappen not gaining massively on Lewis Hamilton, but has to now get through some traffic. So Hamilton past Ricciardo. It's the 2 Alpines next for the Mercedes driver. Probably enjoying the fact that he gets a little bit of a slipstream down these back straights. Obviously, the Mercedes was gaining time on the Red Bull through the back straights anyway. Poor Oscar. Yeah, there's just not a spot for him in Formula 1 this year, was there? You could argue Zhao was the seat that Oscar could have had, but Alfa Romeo need that financial backing. We can see, Giovinazzi and Raikkonen out of this race just because their components don't seem to be able to last to the end of the season. And then coming around now, Lewis Hamilton. Valtteri Bottas also looking at the back of Lando Norris, is within DRS of Lando Norris as well. So let's see if Lando Norris can hold on to that position. Yeah, Nick De Vries as well. Obviously won the Formula E. But there's no place. Lewis Hamilton being told to ignore the dash because his dash says that he's got 8 laps left to go, when obviously we have a few more than that, just 10 laps left to go. We're on lap 48 of 58, And Ocon finally moves out of the way of the Mercedes man. Obviously, Ocon used to be a Mercedes driver himself. Not in Formula 1, but used to be part of the Mercedes sort of team and is managed by Toto Wolff. Let's see then, Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso is now the next man. And I don't think Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton are very good friends. So I think this might be a little bit of a tricky blue flag pass for Lewis Hamilton as Max Verstappen then comes into our picture on the same straight as Lewis Hamilton down towards turn 6. 12.3 seconds now, the gap. So it does need to be over a second a lap now from Max Verstappen, and he also needs to get through the traffic which Lewis Hamilton is just making his way through. Let's have a little look at the lap times. Yeah, backmarker traffic is what Mercedes are leaning on a little bit here. Alonso is now in front of Hamilton still. Is Hamilton going to be able to get past on the pit straight? Yes, 10 laps left to go, and Hamilton is now through that traffic. The gap 11.5 seconds to Verstappen. Verstappen's able to make up a second on the last lap, so it's going to be close, guys. It's going to be very tight indeed. Yes, Max Verstappen does have to get through those back markers as well. Kev, vote Kimi for driver of the day. I mean, he's the only driver that's sort of hit into the wall is the problem. But yeah, I think, for his final Grand Prix, I can appreciate that people want to vote for him just out of the sort of appreciation for him being in Formula 1 for so long and being one of those drivers that will forever go down as a great in Formula 1. Just so consistent all of the time and such a great character to have on the grid. Will be missed next season. Gap to Lewis Hamilton then, 11 seconds for Verstappen. As we're watching... Oh, is that Lando Norris coming into the pits? I think it might be. It is. Lando Norris with a puncture. Are you joking me, man? What? How is Lando Norris the unluckiest man alive? What the... That's so annoying. That's so annoying. Is anyone else really annoyed by that? So annoying. Lando Norris now drops into 8th place. He better still get enough points to get in front of bloody Charles Leclerc in this championship. Gonna be annoyed. The curbs. The front left puncture on Norris, and Hamilton just being told to be careful of the curbs when he's trying to keep ahead of Max Verstappen and win a Grand Prix. 36 laps on those harder compounds. They don't look too bad, actually, on Lewis Hamilton's car. Usually at this point, we're seeing marbles, we're seeing, flat spots on them. Lewis Hamilton's done a very good job at keeping those tyres fairly fresh. But where should we'll drop Norris back now then. So Bottas has gained a position. Boo. Tsunoda's gained a position. Gasly's gained a position. Alonso. And then Norris is in there with Ocon, yeah. God damn it. So that puts Norris in 9th, which means he gets 2 points. So Norris needs to get in front of Ocon to get 4 points. And Leclerc needs to stay out of the points. Come on! Come on, Lando. Get ahead of Ocon. Let's do it. I know it's Alonso, isn't it? Get ahead of Alonso. Let's do it. Does manage to get past Ocon fairly swiftly, though, on some fresh medium tyres. Maybe this is what we needed. We needed Lando on some fresh mediums. Alonso next. Gasly and Tsunoda up the road too. Is within DRS. Lando couldn't find sweets in a sweet shop right now. I know, he's just so unlucky. It's every race, man. I pray every day for Lando Norris to do well. And it's every race that he's just hit with something. Lando Norris is ahead of Alonso, though. He's ahead. Come on. That is 4 points. Right. So now we want Leclerc to stay out of the points. Leclerc, no points. Leclerc, no. And Daniel Ricciardo could be the man to hold him up. Come on. Yes. I know that we're very interested in Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen right now, but that isn't very important to me. It's that Lando Norris is going to get 4 points. How many points is Carlos Sainz going to get, by the way? He's in 4th place, so he gets 10 points. Does that help him? No. Okay, that's cool. 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 Oh, I've put the quali board up. Race board. There you go. Verstappen, though, 11 seconds, still the gap. And Max is still not past that traffic, by the way. Max is still behind Charles Leclerc and Daniel Ricciardo. And the Alpines and Lando Norris there as well now in that gap. So it doesn't look like Verstappen's going to be able to do it, guys. It really does. As we see the vote for driver of the day. And Kimi Räikkönen, 40%. It's a hefty vote for Kimi Räikkönen, the man who hit the wall. And everybody else has driven exceptionally well. Okay, yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. But don't know if I agree with it, but I appreciate it. I really hope teams like Haas and Williams get something right in the new regulations. I mean, Haas have been working on 2022 this whole year. They've brought no real upgrades for their 2021 car. So you'd hope there's something going their way. The gap to Lewis Hamilton then. Lewis Hamilton was quicker than Max Verstappen last lap. Lewis Hamilton was quicker than Max Verstappen last lap. Wow. Okay. So Verstappen needs a miracle, really. Needs Lewis Hamilton to have a puncture. Lando Norris, just a little replay on that move on Fernando Alonso down into turn 6. Yeah, lovely and clean. DRS down into turn 6, hits the apex of both of those corners and gets ahead really well. And Daniel Ricciardo just moves out of the way of Max Verstappen, but there's still 2 Alpines in the way for Max Verstappen. And, of course, Lando Norris as well. Lewis Hamilton, 11.7 seconds the lead now. Lap 53 of this Grand Prix. It does look like maybe he just burned out those tyres a little bit too quick. Let's see. The only thing that could help Max Verstappen now is another, safety car. So, Nicholas Latifi's crashed. Nicholas Latifi has crashed. And that's going to be a safety car. That's going to be a safety car. Oh my God. Oh my God. Safety car. Safety car. Oh no. Oh my God. That is huge. That is huge. So Max Verstappen's going to be able to gain on Lewis Hamilton. Was Lewis Hamilton? No, it was only 11, 12 seconds the gap. So Lewis Hamilton can't pit either. 5 laps to go. Are they going to be able to clear it up in time? Are they going to be able to clear it up in time? Max Verstappen's coming in though. Verstappen coming into the pits for some soft tyres, you'd imagine. And Hamilton just angry. Hamilton cannot box. Verstappen comes in for some soft tyres. Lewis Hamilton obviously on those really, really old, harder compound. So Nicholas Latifi is now out of this race too. Mick Schumacher, the last running driver. Sergio Perez is coming in as well. Oh my God, Spicy King, you were spot on. It's one more twist in the tail in 2021. Oh my God, guys. Ah. Is there anything that won't happen in this Grand Prix? Oh. Hamilton's not going to be able to pit, is he? Everybody else is going to be able to Shuffle up. Wow. Lewis Hamilton. Fire extinguishers are out for Nicholas Latifi. Are they going to be able to move that car? They're going to have to get the crane or something, aren't they? They've taken the front wing from. Are we going to get any racing, though? Ah! I was trying to get an overtake on Mick Schumacher, I think. And they went side by side through the hotel section, maybe? They did bounce wheels into one another, and then Nicholas Latifi came back on track and through turns 15. Oh, yeah, just completely loses the rear end. A bit similar to what we saw in free practice from Kimi. Just loses the rear end in that final hotel corner. But will there be any more racing? Will there be any more laps in this Grand Prix? Or has Lewis Hamilton held on to the World Championship? Oh my goodness me. It was looking like it was just done and dusted, wasn't it? It was looking like it was done and dusted. But the safety car adds one more twist. So they have to bunch. Okay, so they've got to sort out the order and stuff too. Would have lost track position if they pitted. These two are it's gonna be, you know, right down to the wire between these two. So they're gonna have to reshuffle the order a little bit, aren't they? Because Max Verstappen is now running behind an Aston Martin in Vettel. So they're all gonna have to be let through. Have they even got the Williams out of the way yet, though? Pierre Gasly comes into the pits. So have I even got this right? Hamilton, Verstappen, Perez, yeah. Carlos Sainz, Bottas, yeah. Tsunoda, Gasly in the pits, Norris, Alonso, Ocon, Leclerc. Where's Ricciardo gone? Oh, Ricciardo's pitted. So Leclerc is up there. Vettel and Ricciardo. The safety car is not going gas down the straight. Okay, the crane is out then. The crane is out. Nicholas Latifi's car is being moved as we wait. A little bit of a debris on the track as well. Will need to be wiped up. Oh my god, man. Oh my god. How long do we... Oh, there is a fire, actually. The front left tyre of Nicholas Latifi's car. Probably the brakes. Just really, really hot through the hotel section. Very, very hot indeed. 3 laps left to go then. I think we're going to get maybe 1 or 2 racing laps, which is not good if you're a Hamilton fan. Not good at all if you're a Hamilton fan. Who's that coming in? Sergio Perez? Coming into the pits again. Oh. Retiring the car. Perez is going to be out of this Grand Prix then. Perez is now out of the Grand Prix. That's a shame. Ah. That is a real shame then. Sergio Perez out of the Grand Prix for this one. Race control. Lap cars will not be allowed to overtake. So that means that Mercedes guarantee themselves the constructors, which is lovely. But lapped cars are not going to be allowed to overtake. So Max Verstappen is going to have to get past all of those back markers. So there are going to be a few cars in between Hamilton and Verstappen. They're probably doing that just so that they can have some racing laps, right? Because Otherwise, it would be... They do have to get out of the way at Max Verstappen, but they will still cost him a little bit of time. Lewis Hamilton trying to get any kind of temperature into his tyres. Have we heard whether the safety car is in this lap? I don't think we have, as we're going around lap 9 now. So we're going to get 1 lap of racing if it comes in next time out. Verstappen not happy that the lapped cars will not be allowed to overtake. Not happy at all. So the safety car's not coming in this lap. It's a bit too late to call it in now. So if we do get a lap of racing, it is going to be the final lap of this Grand Prix. Oh my goodness me. Wow. Lewis Hamilton then. Yeah, lapped cars are not allowed to overtake. Not allowed to overtake. We're on lap 57 of the Grand Prix then. And lap 57 is going to be done under the safety car. Are we going to see 1 lap of racing? Oh. Oh my God. Red Bull on the radio. Only need 1 racing lap is what the Red Bull garage are telling the FIA. They're on the radio. They're not happy again. And now Max Verstappen trapped behind Sebastian Vettel, sorry. Trapped behind Sebastian Vettel. So there is a lot of cars between Hamilton and Verstappen. There's Vettel, there's Charles Leclerc, there's both of the Alpines and Lando Norris in there as well. Oh my dear. As we come around towards turn 6 and 7 then. Round the sort of very quick turn 8 down towards turn 9. Is the safety car going to be coming in? Or are we going to see the end of this championship under the safety car? Race control. Lando Norris. They are to overtake the safety car. They are to overtake the safety car. Wow. And the safety car is ending. So we're going to get 1 lap. We're going to get 1 lap of Max Verstappen right behind Lewis Hamilton. Oh my God. Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen are side by side. Oh my goodness me. Lewis Hamilton doing as much as he can to slow down the Red Bull. And Lewis Hamilton is going to have to lead this final lap. We go past the safety car line then and down towards turn 1. We're going to get 1 lap of racing. Here we go then. Final lap. Sergio... I keep saying Sergio Perez, but I don't know why. Max Verstappen is right behind Lewis Hamilton now. Down into turn 1 and 2 and 3. Lewis Hamilton keeps the lead of the Grand Prix through those corners. Down towards turn 5 then. Max Verstappen's going to make the lunge in turn 5. And he does. He makes it. Max takes the lead of this Grand Prix. He snatches the championship at the death on the final lap of this Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton then down towards turn 6. Is he going to have anything? He looks to go down the outside. Can't. Comes in. And has to go a little bit wide. And Lewis Hamilton is going to have to go for it down in towards turn 9. And Lewis Hamilton's going to have 1 go at it then. Down the final straight. He's done. He's next to. He's going to have to go up the inside. And Lewis Hamilton is no. It's not going to happen. Max Verstappen is going to take the lead of this Grand Prix. And he's going to take the win. Max Verstappen goes around the final couple of corners. Our brand new world champion, Max Verstappen, is taking the lead round the final hotel section towards the penultimate corner. 1 final corner for Max Verstappen. And he takes the checkered flag as a brand new world champion in Formula One. Max Verstappen comes home in first place. It's Lewis Hamilton in second. Carlos Sainz keeps hold of third place. Oh my goodness me. Max Verstappen has done it. First place, the winner of the 2021 Formula One World Championship. And they've done it. Red Bull take it. Max Verstappen wins his first world championship. The Red Bull garage go absolutely crazy. That is one of the closest championships we're ever going to see. That is one of the most exciting ends to a championship we are ever likely to see. And Lewis Hamilton has to do one final lap in that Mercedes car. He's going to have to come in to the podium. And Toto Wolff just looks in horror. The FIA, another decision, another choice that they've made with the safety car, with the lapped cars being allowed to overtake. And then Lewis Hamilton loses the position to Max Verstappen down into turn 5, and he can't catch back into turn 6, 7, or 9. Max Verstappen, the Dutchman, Super Max, is your world champion. He has done it. It was going to be, both of them deserved it. Both of them absolutely blown around this afternoon. It looked like it was Lewis Hamilton's. Nicholas Latifi hits the wall. And then all of a sudden, one final twist in what has been one hell of a season. Like, he is the world champion. Jos Verstappen with a world champion jumper on it. Good gracious me. Imagine if they got those made up and it wouldn't have happened. Christian Horner absolutely losing it in the pit lane, crying. World champion Max Verstappen, Super Max. My goodness me. What happened to Lando Norris? Does anyone know? Does anyone know if Lando Norris managed to keep hold of 5th in the Drivers' Championship? What a way for the season to end, though. There's going to be talk. There's going to be discussions. There's going to be bedlam. Max Verstappen, the Lion, gets out of the car, stands on the bonnet, and looks to the crowd as a brand new Formula One world champion. He falls to his knees at the back of the Red Bull car. He's worked so hard, everything this year. The Silverstone crash, the Monza crash, all those races that looked like they were going to go his way, and then suddenly were snatched from beneath him. Hungary, where he looked like he was on for another podium, and it was snatched away. Max Verstappen takes the win, and the Red Bull guys come out onto the track. It's chaos in the Red Bull garage. It's chaos with the Red Bull guys. Mercedes do win the Constructors' Championship, for those of you that are interested in that one. But you wouldn't think it. Red Bull, Max Verstappen, world champions. Wow. That is amazing. That is just another world championship that goes down to the final lap of the final Grand Prix. And Lewis Hamilton not even out of the Mercedes car yet. Didn't even bother to go to the second place. And Lewis Hamilton silent on the radio. The Mercedes team speechless. But Lewis Hamilton has nothing to say at this moment. Sergio Perez gets some plaudits. Of course he does. He did an amazing job for the Red Bull guys. Did an amazing job at holding up Lewis Hamilton earlier on in this Grand Prix and gave Max Verstappen the opportunity to even be still in contention. Then we had a virtual safety car. Max Verstappen made the most of that, pitted underneath for some harder compound tyres. And then finally, it's Nicholas Latifi that decides this championship. It's Nicholas Latifi's crash that has swung in the favour of Red Bull. Nicholas Latifi doesn't hit that wall. Lewis Hamilton is an 8-time world champion. But instead, Max Verstappen takes the victory. Carlos Sainz on the podium as well, by the way. Another podium for Carlos Sainz. A very good podium for him. So he'll get 15 points on the board. And he could end up in 5th place. But wow. Goodness gracious me. Oh, wait, AlphaTauri are in 4th and 5th. Wow, okay. AlphaTauri, 4th and 5th place. Gasly congratulates Max Verstappen. Mick Schumacher congratulates Max Verstappen. Those young drivers looking at, you know, the young driver in Max Verstappen at this moment in time. People in the chat not happy about it. Latifi a GOAT, legend. Max Verstappen with the Red Bull team. Absolutely loving it. Cooper clearly not happy. I'm not sure about that. I'm gonna have to watch it back again and decide. It did seem like a ridiculous ending to what has been a ridiculous season. Like, at least, you know, it kept in tune with the rest of the year, because it was an insane finish. Toto Wolff clearly on the radio to somebody right now. You know, Mercedes Constructors Champions since 2014, 8th consecutive Constructors Championships. But Toto Wolff not a happy man at all, disappearing into the back of the Mercedes garage. Wow. This is gonna run on and on and on and on and on. This is not going to be decided here this afternoon. Well, it is. Max Verstappen's your world champion. I can't see the FIA doing anything about that. Can't see, you know, the FIA changing their decision in any way. Mick Schumacher and Sebastian Vettel congratulating Lewis Hamilton on his year. What's going to happen now? Max Verstappen is your world champion. Mercedes will undoubtedly, you know, go to the FIA. Mercedes will undoubtedly have chats with the FIA about what's happened, but I genuinely don't think that they've got they've got much of an argument. Obviously, it was an absolute shambles from the FIA, but it was a shambles for both teams, and Mercedes have gained in various positions. Red Bull have gained in others, and this one swung in the direction of Max Verstappen. Wow. Will we see Lewis Hamilton on the podium? He doesn't look like he even wants to bother, to be honest. He looks just pretty dejected. Hasn't gone, didn't park, obviously, on the track behind the number 2 board. Went straight into the pit lane. And also not very happy with the safety car. I mean, once the safety car had happened, Lewis Hamilton had nothing that he could do. And that is actually quite nice. We see Lewis Hamilton there going over and congratulating Max Verstappen. Wow. Max Verstappen just speechless, to be honest. Obviously, should we talk about it? Shall we talk about it? Lewis Hamilton is just not going to be happy with the FIA. It's not gone his way. But you know what? Max Verstappen has been a wonderful driver all season, and has shown his quality. Obviously, has won the most races this season. Came into this race winning 9. Now rounds up to a nice 10 out of 22 for Max Verstappen this year. But obviously, Lewis Hamilton took the Grand Prix, took the lead of this Grand Prix. Was looking like he was just going to win this race fairly comfortably after the first couple of pit stops. And then there's the safety car. Then there is the safety car. Will Latifi be a talking point for years to come? Timo Glock was the one before for Lewis Hamilton. Obviously, Lewis Hamilton came out on top in that one when he was able to take that position and win his first World Championship. Now we've seen a similar sort of thing. Nicholas Latifi is the driver to give Max Verstappen his first World Championship. And the storylines in Formula One just continue on forever. Max Verstappen, speechless, congratulates the team, says thank you so much. No arguments. Yeah, Max is a deserving driver. I agree with you, Mallory, but we wanted to see it be a little bit fairer, I guess. And Carlos on the podium. And Carlos Sainz. He's going to obviously gain quite a few positions there and will overtake Charles Leclerc in the championship as well. So is now the number one Ferrari driver, Carlos Sainz. The Spaniard in his first year with the Ferrari team, shown really good pace throughout the entire season, has Charles Leclerc. And it's just unfortunate that, you know, Charles Leclerc had a bit of a rubbish day at the office, unfortunately. Lost out massively due to the safety cars and virtual safety cars and decided to pit. Maybe it was a bit of an odd decision, then couldn't get back in front of the cars that were in front of him. Yeah, Charles Leclerc, not a day to remember for him. Lewis Hamilton in the garage with his dad, consoling. But he'll be back again next year. You know, this isn't the end for Lewis Hamilton. This isn't the end for Mercedes. It's not like he was retiring at the end of the season or anything. The 8th World Championship is still up for grabs. And he's got next year in a brand new car with a brand new season to go at it again. Wow. Carlos Sainz does finish 5th. He finishes 5th in the Drivers' Championship. Lewis Hamilton does now come out as well. What will Lewis Hamilton have to say? I wait with bated breath. An amazing season Jenson Button starts with. Wow. And that's nice to see as well. Lewis Hamilton's dad there congratulating Max and Jos. And Lewis Hamilton also congratulates Max and the team. You know, he's had titles swing in his favour like this before. Well, not exactly like this, but in a manner like this before. And it is now, again, going to swing. Wow. Look at that. What are we thinking, guys? What are we thinking? Lewis Hamilton misses out on an 8th World Championship. I guess Latifi can miss his chance at ever driving a Mercedes. Yeah, Latifi is not going to be in Mercedes good books for a very, 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 very long time. In fact, possibly forever. Latifi is going to be seen as the devil by the Mercedes team and Mercedes fans. And Lewis Hamilton, very respectful, to be fair. You can tell he's really upset. You can tell he's not happy with the decision or how it's gone. But at the same time, he has to respect that is Formula One sometimes. That's the way that the race has gone. That's the way that the season has gone for him. And, you know, I'm gutted for him. Everyone's gutted for him. He looked like he was on to win that race. But Max Verstappen, again, similar, is a worthy winner. Is a worthy winner. What happened? Emil, mate, you're going to have to watch the highlights because Hamilton was leading by quite a considerable margin. Latifi hit into the wall. Safety car brings the two cars back together again. Max Verstappen on some fresh soft compound tyres. Lewis Hamilton on very, very old hard compound tyres. And it was a formality for Max Verstappen to take the lead of the Grand Prix in the final lap of the Grand Prix, the final lap of the season. And you couldn't write it. You could not write it. Drive to Survive, Netflix are rubbing their hands together because my goodness me, what a season we have had. But let's see it again. Down into turn 5. Max Verstappen goes for it. Up the inside. And easily takes the position from Lewis Hamilton, really. Lewis Hamilton tries his best to go back at him into turn 9, but can't do anything about it. Toto Wolff absolutely livid. And on the radio as quickly as he possibly can be, I imagine, to Michael and the FIA. So angry due to Latifi. Yeah. That is the one. No problem, Emil. Thank you. Right. That is how we're going to end this championship. That is how we're going to end the first ever season of Not Applicable F1. It's lights out live streams. And it's been wonderful, guys. We've hit 5,000 subscribers. We've had wonderful races with one another. It's been truly exceptional to spend this time with you guys, and it's just been a hell of a season. I know that like it's going to go down in history as one of those seasons for everybody as a Formula One fan. You know, the battle between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, of course, but for me, starting this, getting to know some of you guys, working with you guys, building up this channel to the point where, you know, it is my passion. It's what I look forward to. Every weekend there isn't a race, I'm, you know, biting at the bit to get back into talking to you guys and making videos. And this is my dream. And I do. Wow. And Michael Massey on the radio to Toto Wolff. It's called a motor race. We went racing. Wow. Sorry. I was in the middle of thanking all you guys and then just saw that radio message between Michael Massey and the teams. Obviously, we'll be, 14 weeks now without a Formula One race. March is when we come back for the 2022 season. And oh my God. Oh my God. Who is going to win this final? Just who's going to win next year? It's going to be all over the place as we see Carlos Sainz taken to the podium again this season. It does seem like he is always there or thereabouts, Carlos Sainz, in that Ferrari car. Lewis Hamilton comes out in second, takes his position. Thanks to the crowd for coming and gives them a wave as well. But the man we've all been waiting for, Max Verstappen, takes to the top spot of the podium, the 2021 World Champion. And time to subscribe for me. Thank you, Emil, mate. Yeah, if we could hit the hit subscribe. It's been a wonderful season. It's been full of twists and turns. It's been full of hard work. As I said, I've been trying to make videos as much as I possibly can and getting to know you guys, building this channel, and just to even, be in a position where every weekend I have an excuse to do this. I don't have words for it, and it's been a hell of a year and a wonderful, wonderful time to spend with you guys. And I'm gonna disappear because I feel like I'm gonna cry. So yeah, thank you all so much. Obviously, there'll be lots of videos coming out over the winter period. We'll have a race review for you later on today, as soon as I have the energy to put together that, and we'll have reviews. There's also some season reviews coming out soon. We'll talk about all of the different drivers and how their seasons went, who was driver of the year, all that kind of thing. But yeah, it's been amazing. And if you're one of the people that only watches the live streams, I'll see you in March. If you're not, then we've got Drive to Survive coming up as well. We'll be watching that live, and Thank you so much, is what I want to say. And I'm going to leave it there. I'll see you soon.